Live from a bunker in the heart of the Ozarks, a podcast that feels like we're talking too loud, even though our proximity doesn't require this kind of volume. It's Sif Pop. Welcome to Sif Pop Weekly, streaming live most Saturday mornings or available to download later in your podcast feed, unless, of course, you're a patron.
Patrons get perks.
Patrons get those perks. I'm your host, Aaron Dicer, and he accidentally traded his microphone for a pet rock. It's Andrew Ormsby, ladies and gentlemen. Each week we'll chat about movies, TV, and whatever else from the pop culture universe is on our minds. And please welcome our guest this week. His voice is mint. It's Ian Whittington.
Woo! I don't want to be here anymore. I don't like this.
Ian,
I don't want to do this.
why don't you like being on Sif Pop?
Because you make me watch movies. For anyone else getting Danny Hughes flashbacks.
I was gonna say, literally has happened to this podcast before. So yes, I do understand the pain as somebody who has put himself in the position of watching all the movies so that he can tell other people about them. I do understand the pain of having to watch the bad movies too. Sometimes that is just the case. Thank you for joining us, Ian.
Yeah,
today.
no, it's great. Good. Happy Independence thing to you people.
I wasn't going to bring it up.
You were. I'm not going to let Aaron take the high road here because just so people know, later on in the show, we always have the segment of Best Ever Challenge.
Yeah.
You wanted Best Ever Challenge Revolutionary War movies, specifically American Revolutionary War. The only reason we couldn't do it is there literally is not enough movies to talk about.
I just thought it might be a good topic. I just thought it might be a good topic
to make movies about. It wasn't that big a deal. It's fine. Moving on. the email thread for the prep for this show is just littered.
Revolution was not a big deal. Just move on.
Yeah, just get on with it. It's fine. You got Hamilton out of it. Just leave it be.
if nothing else, you have the musical Hamilton. There you go. Well, thanks for joining us, Ian. Let's get right into the beautiful, beautiful reason you're so excited to be with us today. Let's talk a little bit about Minions: The Rise of Gru. A fanboy of a supervillain supergroup known as the Vicious Six, Gru hatches a plan to become evil enough to join them with the backup of his followers, the Minions. This is, I believe, the fifth movie in the Despicable Me franchise.
Wow. It feels like the 15th.
I believe there are 3 Despicable Me movies, and this is the second Minions movie. Although I do want to say right off the bat, before we even get to liked it, loved it, disliked it, hated it, it was just okay. How is this a Minions movie? This is a Despicable Me movie. This is a Despicable Me prequel.
I don't get it. It's how weak are your Minion? How weak is your faith in your Despicable Me franchise that you pull one out to be called Minion? I don't understand the logic. It must have been a focus group marketing thing of it will make more money if we market it as Minions.
As a Minions movie. I think that it has to be that.
It has to be it. It's dumb.
Yeah. This is a Despicable Me prequel, or a mequel, if you will.
No.
It is, I mean, they put in the title The Rise of Gru, but of course Steve Carrell is back as the younger Gru, and then you've got Jean-Claude Van Damme in as John Claude with a W.
And that is the cleverest part of this movie.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Nunchucks is the cleverest part.
Okay, I'm getting there. Taraji P. Henson plays Belle Bottom. Michelle Yeoh is Master Chow. Russell Brand is Dr. Nefario. And we have Nunchucks, and Svengeance is Dolph Lundgren. So yes. Anyhow, what did you think? Did you like it, love it, dislike it, hate it, or it was just okay? Ian.
I am the low side of didn't like it. I am not going to say I hated this movie. I do not feel strongly enough about it to give it any energy in the hate category.
Andrew, before you give yours, I will say Lucy Lawless played Nunchuck.
Okay.
Danny Trejo was Stronghold. If you wondered who the other villains were,
I'm
Andrew,
sure
did
they'll all
you?
be up for Oscars.
Yes, Andrew, did you love it, like it, love it, like it, or love it or like it?
Those are my options.
Have I used
Okay.
them up already?
Yes.
I'm gonna go low side of okay.
Okay, low side of okay. I'm a high side of didn't like it.
I think we're all in the same boat. Besides Ian, who's really close to a passion of
Oh,
hating it.
I have jumped off of this boat and I'm finding my own my own boat to sit in.
Andrew, you said low side of okay, so you get to kick us off. Tell us about this amazing movie.
Well, here's the thing. This might be the first Despicable Me / Minions movie I've ever seen. So maybe just the unbearable weight of mediocrity, I guess, that has come before this movie isn't resting. Like, it's not a weight on my shoulders or anything. So I just walked in and I obviously knew what Minions were, but I had no context for them or anything. So this may have been like, if there was ever anything funny the Minions did, they did it like in the first movie or something. Well, this is my first time seeing those funny things. So, you know.
Yeah. So what are some of the things you liked?
Some of the Minions were funny.
Welcome to every Despicable Me movie. By the way, that is the summary.
Yeah, I think the Three Stooges, like those three that were on their own little journey. Yeah, I had fun with them. Okay, we can talk about the bad things now.
Here's what I would say.
There's not enough for me to hate in this movie.
Exactly. It's so bland. It's so plain by numbers.
Yeah. I will say this. I'm going to stick up for the original Despicable Me a little bit. I think the original Despicable Me has a point of view. It has some interesting themes going on in it. There's something it's doing that's really interesting about people who want to see themselves as a villain, but really they're not. I think there's actually a lot of that in our culture. Like there has been kind of this honoring of the troublemaker or the anti-hero or that kind of thing. And it's a movie that says, you know what, maybe it's okay if you can, have compassion or empathy. And those little girls are, adorable. And maybe that's why this is a Minions movie and not a Despicable Me movie, because the girls aren't in it. Maybe that's the distinguishing factor that they're making. But man, after that, they as my friend Ian likes to say in the SIFPOP members only pre-show, they just started milking that unholy cow. And they have gotten progressively worse. I think the original Despicable Me movie was fairly well received, like in the 80s on Rotten Tomatoes, and
Oh, okay.
So
Andrew, we went to the same place.
Yeah, like Despicable Me came out in the 80s.
How old did I just
Yeah, really.
So
what are the Minions?
This is answered in the original Minions movie. They evolved as their own creature, and they evolved in a way to serve malevolence while being joyful themselves. So, like, the very first pre-human minions, like, were helping out the T-Rex or whatever. So yeah, they've been with us all along, and they are a distinct creature with their own language and pill yellow bodies.
Okay.
And butts. They have butts for some reason. Just those pill bodies, the cylindrical pill bodies have butts for whatever reason. No shoulders. Okay. No shoulders, but they have butts.
And yet dungarees, but no shoulders.
That's right. So the point I was going to make, and the reason I land on the high side of didn't like it, is there is some of that stuff that is lingering that has trickled down movie-nomics to the sequels, right? So this is the idea that even when you're milking the unholy cow, there's still some nutrients there, even if it's been a long time. So the other things I like in Minions: The Rise of Gru, yes, there are things I laughed at. There are things I thought were clever. but I've seen it before so many times, and it's just a result of the original property, and it isn't repackaged enough for me to feel anything new, to feel anything where I'm like, oh, that's interesting what you did there. It's all just kind of the same stuff. So yeah, that's where my good stuff comes from.
I will stay in the positives as well, and I actually completely agree with you. I like Despicable Me. I like that first movie.
Your positive is a different movie.
I'm gonna stick with it. This is me and Aaron just did the same thing. I do enjoy that movie. The Minions at that point were original and pretty fun. That moment where I think it's Stuart or somebody gets blamed for causing the mess in the house. And then the camera just like flips over to him and he goes, "What?" Like just the disgust in his face when he's been like blamed for something he didn't do. I'll just keep talking about Despicable Me instead of this. But I just no, positive things. It was short.
Yes,
it was short. Yeah,
it was.
Were there any like cameos or anything from the other movies in this one? Like,
yes.
I don't want you to obviously I don't want you to list specifics to like give away spoilers or anything, but there were.
Oh, well, absolutely.
The entire movie is a cameo. Like that. It's just
it's prequelitis.
100% prequel. There is no need to have Russell Brand in this movie at all, other than hey, look, he's in the first movie. Like when can we do the bad stuff?
Ian, you can take us to the bad stuff. I do want to, before you do though, did you laugh? Were there some times where you were like, oh, that's funny?
Yeah, but it's the dumbest stuff. It's
right.
the kung fu stuff where he's bashing
low hanging fruit.
That's super low hanging fruit. That it may as well be a nut shot because it's gonna make me laugh. It doesn't mean that I respect you for making me laugh by doing that. Like he's getting built up to like karate chop the thing, but then grabs Stuart instead and bashes his head against it.
Wow, you guys know the Minions' names.
Only Stuart. If you realize, I've only mentioned Stuart. He's the only one I can remember, so I'm attributing everything to him.
It doesn't matter which one it actually is.
Any of them. It's Stuart, not Stuart, and the other one.
Well, I remember. I guess which one's Stuart? Which one's he?
I think he's the tallest, skinniest looking of the three.
Because I remember there was the tall one, the one-eyed one, and then the baby one.
Yeah, Stuart, Algernon, and Ulysses. I think
it's Kevin and Bob. It's Stuart, Kevin, and Bob. And I apologize for knowing this, but
well,
but yes.
Hey, when did the first Despicable Me come out? Was it right around the time, Aaron, when your kids
2010 feels right.
In 2010, I had an 11, 9, 7, and 5-year-old. So
you lived and breathed Despicable Me.
So that was right in the heart of that. Yeah, for sure.
10 years this franchise has been going on.
Right.
Over. Yeah. Yes, go ahead, tear it apart, Ian. Kick us off. What are some of your thoughts?
This movie is every prequel that's ever been made. It's also every 70s movie retro thing that's ever been made. It's
every 70s stars in this movie.
It's just they don't lean into that enough. If they did, I might have had a better time. But they do. Other than the funny names that are okay, fine, they're quite funny. That's where the joke starts and ends. They completely miss an opportunity there. Otherwise, this is like Austin Powers Goldmember goes to the 70s, but with less plot. It is. Let's just throw in every reference that we can. These song choices are bafflingly random and pointless and just 70s until they're not 70s, and they just bring in some music, some current music. I'm like, stick with a thing. It's every prequel that you've ever seen. It is ticking off the bingo card of this is what we have to do. These are the callbacks that we have to make. And if we set it in the 70s as well, maybe that's enough variety that it'll get bums in seats. That's it. It's just lazy.
Yeah, well, the story is so sparse, right? There's not a lot going on here. It is an excuse for a series of pratfalls, right? This movie is an excuse for a series of comedic bits that it wants to do, and some of them are successful, some of them are fine, but it's just not why I go to movies. Now, is it why little kids go to movies? Maybe a little bit, and that's what I had to get into my head. So I did genuinely go into this really optimistic because the bar couldn't be any lower. So I was like, this could be just one of those movies that catches me off guard, and I'm just like, damn, I had a good time with that.
But it doesn't need to do that. Like there were kids in the theater that were laughing. There were teenagers in the theater that were laughing, that were kids when Despicable Me came out. So I was like, this is doing for you what it needs to do. So I was like, it's not for me. I wish you could do both, and they can do both. You absolutely can, but it's far easier to just do the lowest common denominator.
Agree. Andrew, some thoughts?
The MacGuffin in this movie is one of the most pointless movie objects I've ever seen. Like,
it's are we trying to be James Bond or Indiana Jones?
There's no desire established besides we're evil and we steal things. Like nothing else is, referenced. There's no lore, nothing. Like, give me a reason to care. Like, what am I so afraid, like, of this object? Like, why is it wanted?
Yeah, for me, I thought they did a fairly. No, they didn't do a fairly good job, but it was fine. I didn't need to know like all the details, but for me, it was the resolution. It was the climax that was such a failure, because it was like, oh, it just does this. That's what it does, and on this day. So, and I think they kind of laid that groundwork. On this day, it does a thing, and when it does the thing, I'm like, okay, so I mean, you built yourself vehicles that are pretty much just as destructive as what this thing does. So like, I don't like, it's like you're in the 70s and you have these rocket, hover powered vehicles. Like, I don't know. It was weird because it was so anticlimactic to me what it did.
Yeah, it's the laziest. This is saying something. It is the laziest part of the movie, and it somehow manages to feel out of place, even in a movie that's paint by numbers. This Avengers style team up, just beat the bad guys finale is just so lazy. It's just, you didn't have to put any thought into that. You just create a bunch of creatures from Chinese mythology, so you didn't even have to create original creatures. You just slapping some whatever year of the snake, whatever it is, onto it, and there you go. Just things explode. There is no thought or care gone into that finale.
Yeah, it was the most disappointing part for me, was the story. I can almost go with you doing just a running series of comedic bits, as long as a simple story isn't a problem for me, but it has to lead somewhere. Like and I'm not even 100% sure what this movie was saying. Like I'm trying to figure out if it's about Knuckles, Wild Knuckles, the Alan Arkin character who we haven't mentioned yet.
I think it's supposed to be.
Is he new, or is he?
He's completely new. Yeah. He's completely new, and I think the movie is telling us this is Gru's mentor in some way, and so how he found his mentor. But what the movie is telling us is about how he mentored him is really strange, because if Wild Knuckles is learning the lesson that Gru learns in the first movie, which kind of feels like what's going in on here. Well, then why didn't Gru learn it too when his mentor learned, after his mentor learned it? You know what I mean? Like,
and that's always the problem with prequels, is that you have to have your main character be so far behind whatever work they get done in the current movies, and that never works. They always feel further ahead than they should be, almost always.
I just feel like there should be a different Gru in Despicable Me if this is the experience he had leading to his career as a quote unquote villain.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe I'm misunderstanding something. Maybe I'm missing something. But it just, I wasn't exactly sure what the movie was trying to say.
I think you've already put more thought into it than anybody.
The movie wanted to say little yellow butts are funny. That's what the movie wanted to say. And honestly, I don't know that they're wrong. So, to a certain audience. Any final thoughts on Minions: The Rise of Gru?
I guess you could technically call it a post-credit scene, but it's right after director.
It's a post-credit scene. It's really the end of the movie. Throwing the director credit in there was weird to me. I didn't understand that.
They're like, oh right, crap, we gotta do this.
We have to do one of these because we haven't taken that off the bingo card.
Yeah, exactly. Ian, any final thoughts?
I have nothing. I'm done with these movies.
I paid more attention. My final thought is this: I paid more attention than I ever have to the language of the minions in this one, and remain convinced that they are just speaking French and Spanish.
I thought I heard
in
Italian.
concert.
I picked up tons of French in there. Yeah.
Because it's funny because the directors have said we created this entire language for the minions, and I'm like, I think you just combined several different languages and use them when appropriate.
Yeah.
I don't think this is in question. So
I think good night is the only English word that's in there.
It is
clearly spoken. Just like good night.
Yeah. There you go. Minions: The Rise of Gru is in theaters. Will you like it? Maybe, probably not. Will your young children like it? Seems fair to say they might. It is definitely geared that direction. Let's move on to another movie set in the 70s. Let's talk about The Black Phone. Finney Shaw, a shy but clever 13-year-old boy, is joined by little yellow minions and then abducted by a sadistic killer and trapped in a soundproof basement where screaming is of little use. When a disconnected phone on the wall begins to ring, Finney discovers that he can hear things, and there are spoilers in this description I'm not going to get into. Let's talk about The Black Phone. This is Scott Derrickson coming back to, or I say coming back. It's not like he left necessarily. What did you guys think of The Black Phone? Did you like it, love it, dislike it, hate it, or it was just okay? Andrew, you get to start this time.
I left the movie theater thinking it was okay, but I think right now I'm going to land on I did not like it.
Oh, went down in your estimation.
Yeah.
Ian?
I did not expect this to have such a similar plot to Minions, genuinely. I'm like, this is unusual. Man, I'm the low side of it was just okay. Like low cresting into didn't like it, but low side of it's just okay.
I'm gonna land on the low side of liked it. I liked this movie. I like a lot of what this movie is doing. There are certainly some things that bring it down that I'm sure you guys will be happy to get into, and I will agree with. But I get to start because apparently I'm the only one that liked it.
Aaron, why is this amazing?
This movie is the greatest movie ever made, and here's why.
Yes.
So no, I totally understand the love that's coming out for this movie. First and foremost, I will say this. It has a clever and interesting structure and process that I don't think I've ever seen before. And I love that when a movie can show me something new. It has a very, very deliberate thing that it's doing that I think works. The execution, we can talk about that in different ways. But in addition to the fact that the structure works so well for me, I think the way the story is told enhances that structure really well. Like the information you're given through this movie and when you're given it really feels like I'm learning things when the movie wants me to learn them. And I'm discovering things when the movie wants me to discover them. And I really, really appreciate that about a film. I think that's just good storytelling. And I felt like I was along for a really interesting, if nothing else, story here. What about you guys? You guys have anything good to say about it?
Well, yeah, there's I think to build off what you're saying, there's an originality to this movie that is overlaid. It's overlaying a trope that you see in these types of movies that makes it unique and stand out, which that is really cool, and I can get behind that. If I'm going to give one pro to this movie, I'm going to look up her name. It's his sister, Madeline McGraw.
Yeah.
She was the standout in this movie for me. I think that she did a great job. Am
I wrong to say that the acting in this movie, even dealing with all the kids that are in this movie, is actually kind of good?
Yeah, totally agree.
I not only liked Madeline McGraw, I really liked
Mason Thames, the main kid.
I thought he was fine, but in good, in fact. But I'm trying to find the name of the actor who played the kid
his
that got
name is
into the
Ethan
fight.
Hawke.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyways, I will just say the kid that beat up the bully. I thought he was a really interesting, fun character, and I thought the performance
Miguel
was
Casaveras Mora.
okay. Thank you. I thought he was really good. So yeah, I actually liked the acting all through this. I thought was really good, except for maybe the brother character. And when I say the brother, I mean the brother of the Ethan Hawke character.
Yeah, James Ransone
was a little bit on the nose for me.
I didn't like Ethan Hawke in this movie.
Oh, talk about it.
Do you want me to get into negatives right now?
Listen, it's a conversation, and you mentioned it. So yeah, what's your issue with Ethan?
It's kind of spread out, but over everybody. But I think everybody in this movie, besides the sister, is a very one-note character. Like, there's nothing really, there's a distinctive factor for each character, and then that one distinct note becomes the character. I think that Ethan Hawke is really trying to lay on the creepiness vibe here. It's like, guys, I need you to know that I'm creepy. If the mask isn't doing it for you, maybe my creepy voice will, sort of thing. I'm not going to say that I would know how difficult it is, but, doing a performance that is 99% hidden behind a mask to try and convey some emotion. I don't know if he felt he had to overact to sell, but normally I find it's the subtleties that really sell those performances, where like a character's face is hidden, like in we were speaking earlier about Guy Fawkes, so let's talk about V for Vendetta with Hugo Weaving, having to do that entire performance hidden behind the mask. It's the subtlety that works for that character. So whenever I see Ethan Hawke doing the "I'm creepy," this kind of stuff,
I missed that scene.
Oh, you didn't?
Yeah, I didn't see the jazz hands at all.
Oh, he jazz handed for sure. But yeah, it's that kind of like the overacting, the performance art of it to try and make a character seem more creepy. It didn't work for me.
Okay. It worked for me. I thought the Hawk performance was fine. Ian, some thoughts?
Yeah, I've found it difficult to weigh in or get into it because it was just okay for me. I actually completely agree with you, Aaron. I love that it's doing something original, and it is an original premise and an original structure. And I would challenge anybody to say it's predictable or say they can see where it's going. Maybe the final outcome, fine, but how the character gets there and where they dive into this mystery and how they explore it is really, really well done.
And I'd honestly like to do a SIF spoil on this if you guys are up for it, because I do have some things I want to talk about that are blatant spoilers that impact my ability to
anti-gravity string.
Yes,
and Mantine porcelain. All these things.
When Tom Cruise showed up, so weird. But
definitely.
Yeah.
I can absolutely see the 1970s horror influences as well. Like there is a heavy Haddonfield vibe to this entire movie, especially the first half. And there's so much walking. There is so much walking to and from school, to and between disasters. And I'm not going to be able to articulately say why that dragged for me, why that didn't work setting the mood. There is and it sounds strange to say, there is an uncomfortable amount of child abuse in this film. Any amount is uncomfortable, but it lays it on so thick.
It's not afraid to be that movie that's like, look, if we're going to do this topic, you're going to be uncomfortable, because this is a very uncomfortable topic.
It absolutely swims in it, and it was, and I'm sure it's supposed to be, it was so distracting from the story and the premise and the movie I was expecting to see. It laid it on so thick and went so deep into that place. I had trouble swimming back out of it to then enjoy a movie about a mystery kidnapper with a mask.
Sure. let me offer some thoughts without spoiling anything, and maybe we'll get back into this in spoilers too when we talk more specifically. But just to clarify, are you talking about Ethan Hawke or are you talking about Jeremy Davies?
Jeremy Davies.
I think he's talking about Jeremy Davies.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to clarify and make sure.
Yeah.
This movie is very intentionally doing something thematically with that in two ways. It's setting up brother-sister stuff. It's also setting up finale stuff that we can't talk about till spoilers. But it's definitely purposeful. Like I wouldn't see it as unnecessary for what the movie wants to do. But I think it is worth mentioning it because it can impact your ability to enjoy the movie because you have to sit there and watch it.
And that is exactly why I'm struggling to critique it, because I know that is a personal thing. I'm confident that is exactly what the movie wanted to do. I don't think it's accidental. I don't think it's necessarily exploitative. It just what it did for me was get me so buried in the weeds that I struggled to enjoy this as an adventure and as a fist pumping moment,
right? And
when for all of whatever good stuff happens.
And I will say the movie is doing some really wild stuff with the idea of redemption and grace. And I think the movie wants you to really wrestle with that question based on how it kind of finishes off. And the idea of, is there grace? Is there, and I think the movie has a worldview, and it's not necessarily one you might be comfortable with. And I don't just mean you, Ian. I mean you, the viewer.
Yeah.
I think that's very valid to talk about. I think that's very a valid concern. So yeah. Anyways, I'm glad you brought it up. Any other thoughts, Andrew?
No post-credit scene.
Well, I wasn't ready for that yet. I just meant were there any other negatives that you wanted to get into?
Well, guys, there's no post-credit scene. Like I said, when I left the theater, I was just okay with it. This movie didn't really hit me anywhere. I think I'm with Ian. It's very meh. Is that what you're kind of saying, Ian? That there was
it's really difficult to articulate, because the stuff that hit me in the wrong way, you can't describe it as meh, because it's such a deep and traumatizing thing. But somehow the package overall did actually come out as meh for me. As cool, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Just so strange.
So yeah, I'm in a different boat than I wasn't drawn to any characters. So like the only character I really liked wasn't in danger. So that really doesn't add. But they're a real driving force for the movie. But obviously,
which character are you talking about?
The sister.
Oh, I think she's completely in danger. Like she's like almost in as much peril as the brother. But that's probably spoilery. But
yeah, we'll get into that in spoilers, because I'd like to unpack that, unless we already have. So yeah, I don't really have anything. Aaron, you have anything?
One thing we haven't talked about is this movie does take some pretty decent leaps in logic. It takes some pretty decent leaps in character development, where you can tell that it's prioritizing story structure and thematics over realism in quite a few ways. And I'm not just talking about metaphysical things, although certainly there's worth discussing. And the way this movie chooses to use those things is it's very clear to me that there was less concern with, would this happen this way in the real world? There was more concern
entirely.
There was more concern with, here's what the story needs to do. And that's fine. That doesn't bother me. I actually had the thought during this movie that I think one of the reasons I end up liking more movies than some is I genuinely, my movie optimism takes over, where I'm like, you can do that movie. That's fine. I'm not going to get distracted by that. I'm not going to get annoyed by that. I'm excited for the story you want to tell me. I know you're a movie, so let's watch it, And I think sometimes, especially in modern movie watching, we can get to the place where we'd rather find the things we don't like and then go, see, now I don't like this movie. See, this is distracting me. And I think I like being able to give a movie grace to be a little ridiculous or a little unrealistic because it has a story to tell. And I definitely think this movie did.
That's why we go to see movies. Like,
right?
Like what I did like about the movie is that it sticks to its own rules. Like it is very, it doesn't try to mislead you into a false flag thing or any red herrings. It's very, very clear that this is how this stuff works in this universe. Absolutely fine with that. And that's the part of the movie I like the most. That premise is really, really good. It's really interesting.
It also wades into religion a little bit, which is always interesting to me. And
fascinating. The journey that the sister goes on is
and
so
doesn't really come down with a worldview, I don't think.
No.
Like it doesn't take the time to go, here's the movie's worldview on, this thing. And I found that compelling. I thought that was interesting. But yeah.
I think it's funny. This movie had to be a period piece because wall-mounted phones aren't a thing anymore.
Well, and just cell phones, I think.
Yeah. I just wouldn't be surprised if 90% of horror movies from here on out are set before 1985. Like I just like it's, or 1990, I should say. But it's just the internet and cell phones changed everything, and it's to the movie's benefit. It's why it's so interesting to watch a movie like It Follows. I don't know if you guys have seen It Follows, but it's a movie that is aesthetically a 70s movie.
But they never say.
And yet the characters do have some sort of devices that they can use when the plot needs it to. Like, it's so nebulous when it takes place that the movie gets away with some stuff because you can't really place it. And I just think horror movies are going to have to do that because so much of the tension is eliminated when you can just pull a phone out and Google something or call someone or video chat with someone. And we are so tired of the, oh no, cell phones don't work here trope. It's like having to eliminate that in a creative way is so difficult now. It's all been done. So yeah, I think unless you're a movie that's willing to make it part of the tension somehow and figure out how that works, it's difficult to do. So yeah, the 70s is much easier.
Totally.
I'm trying to think if I touch on everything I want to touch on before we talk spoilers, and I think everything else. I will say there's a story turn that I think works towards the end of this. We'll talk about that more specifically in spoilers. A little bit of a surprise, and yeah, we can talk about more in the SIF spoil if you want to check that out. Any final thoughts from you two?
I already said mine.
I'm going to be pondering this, and I may have to watch it. No, I'm not going to watch it again. That was my answer right there. I don't want to watch this movie again.
You're not going to watch this movie again.
No. I'm disappointed I'm almost disappointed with myself that I didn't like it more, because I almost want to reward original stories and original like filmmaking like this. Like there is so much about this film I'm convinced I should like, but I just come down on he's okay.
I think there is enough. I think there is enough of those moments where you don't quite roll your eyes, but there are enough of the I see what we're doing here moments in this movie that you're reminded enough times, that the movie isn't perfect, that it's hard to build up that momentum of, I love this. Oh, this is so cool. You know what I mean? Like some movies do a really great job of just like building you into the movie, into like it's not that you have to ignore those distractions. They don't even distract you because you're so into what's going on. And in this movie, you just kind of have to ignore the distractions and then just give yourself to what you're enjoying about it. So
and I think it comes down to the first half of the film dragging, and the only bits that didn't were the really traumatizing bits that I didn't want to have in front of me. So that was the only time where the tension kind of picked up, and I get what it's setting up, but 90 minutes of movie, I shouldn't feel like it's dragging its feet.
Yeah.
I guess my one last thing is you're telling me a cokehead didn't check every door in that house?
Fair enough. We'll just leave that at that and maybe talk about that more in the Sif spoil. All right, that is The Black Phone. It is in theaters. It is hour and 42 minutes. In case you're wondering about how long you're going to be.
Both quick watches.
Yeah.
Both felt days long.
Really? Okay.
Oh man,
I want to say this. I want to say this for both movies, just real quick. They felt like they went by really quick. Both of them did.
Maybe I was just in a bad mood.
I didn't feel the length of either of these movies. No, definitely not. Before we head into the best ever challenge, just a reminder that you can support Sif Pop at Patreon, patreon.com/SifPop. If you do that, there's lots of fun thank yous that we give to the different levels of our Sif Pop members, including a members only pre-show that comes in your own dedicated podcast feed without ads as well. So you get all the normal episodes and all the bonus episodes, no ads in your own feed. If you want to check that out, go to patreon.com/siftpop. And support starts at $3 a month. So really appreciate those who are willing to do that. So again, check that out at patreon.com/siftpop. All right, let's move on to the best ever challenge. Best ever Steve Carrell movies. He's done some. He's done some movies, guys. Steve Carrell has been in some movies.
One or two.
We'll go number 5 to number 1. Feel free to trump if you have something higher.
Aaron, you go first.
I will do so. Number 5. Horton Hears a Who, guys. I have a really soft spot in my heart for this movie. I think Jim Carrey's great in it. I think Steve Carell is great in it. It's probably my favorite Seuss movie. I really enjoy it. I think it's well done. It's funny. It's got a lot of great stuff in it. So it may sound weird when there's so many other great movies that Steve Carell has been in, but I sure do love.
Hey, I haven't seen it, so I can't say that
you should watch it. It's really cute. It's great. Yeah.
Is it seasonal, like a Grinch Who Stole Christmas, or can you watch it anytime?
You can watch it anytime.
Okay.
Anytime. You just need a burst of that. Everyone is important, no matter how small.
I never have that. So. Ian.
I realized that if you don't count sequels, prequels, etc., I've only seen 6 Steve Carell movies.
Wow!
So I did not have a lot to pull from here.
Okay.
I'm really sorry.
Wow.
So in at number 5 is Despicable Me.
Okay.
Because I do enjoy that first movie. It was unique. It was quite original. And absolute props to Phil for pulling up graphics, because I sent him my list about 10 minutes before the show started. So well done, sir. We've talked about Despicable Me enough. The kids are adorable. It's So Fluffy I Could Die is still to this day, if you don't know where it came from this movie. There's some good stuff in there.
Nice.
All right.
Andrew, what do you got at your number 5?
Well, mine's gonna get trumped. I have Vice, so
not trumped by me. It's in my honorable mentions.
What?
If I'd seen it, perhaps.
Aaron, I thought this was honestly gonna be like your number 1.
Really, I do enjoy Vice, but Horton Hears a Who is just better. It's just a better movie.
Okay. This movie for me, it rests on the shoulders of Christian Bale, just being as insanely good as he is. I think the movie itself is lacking, but performances around like Sam Rockwell as George W. and stuff, like it's great casting, astounding prosthetic work, and just good performances all around.
Yeah, good performances all around. I will say for our live viewers, I'm not sure was Bruce Willis in Vice? I don't remember
that.
Bruce Willis being in Vice. I just think the wrong graphic was loaded up.
I can't see it. It's I have. Maybe if I do this, but then.
Yeah. Anyhow, yes, Vice is a lot of fun. It's interesting for me because I do go back and forth on that movie, even though I enjoy it quite a bit. I wonder how much of it is the incredible transformation of Christian
I think he's
Bale
thinking
stuff.
of the 2015 Thomas Jane Bruce Willis movie Vice. Nope, wrong one. We're talking about the Christian Bale, Amy Adams, 2018 Oscar nominated film.
Yeah.
I take back my props. You stuffed it up, Phil.
All right. I think we're on to our number 4. So I will go with Beautiful Boy at number 4. This is a recent film with Timothy Chalamet and Steve Carell. And this is talk about movies that are hard to watch, but good, like hard to deal with, like real life stuff. As a parent, watching another parent try to deal compassionately with a son who is addicted to hard drugs and that battle, and to do it in an honest way. I just never seen anything like it. And it just kind of owned those parental sides of me that are just like, what would I do in that? How would I, I think I understand what tough love is. Do I really understand what tough love is? And is tough love even, like, is there a degree where love is too tough? Like, do you just still, what is the difference between enabling and being empathetic? Like, it's just like all of these issues are so complicated and so complex. This is based on a true story, by the way. And the book,
isn't it written by the father and the son together? Correct.
The father and son wrote the book together about this journey, and the movie follows the book. So yeah, it's absolutely an impressive movie to watch and very compelling. And of course, Timothy Chalamet's great. Steve Carell is great. Some of Steve Carell's best work in my belief. So yeah, Beautiful Boy in at number 4 for me.
It's my number 6. It's a rough watch, but it is beautiful. That scene with them in the diner gets me every time.
Yeah, definitely. Number 4 for you, Ian.
In a similar vein, Get Smart.
Great double feature.
Right?
Great double feature. Get Smart.
Beautiful Boy and Get Smart.
Goodness, no. I like this movie. It's fine. This shows that I'm pulling from a very limited pool of Steve Carell movies, but it's fun. I love Anne Hathaway. I think it hits the callbacks for the most part in the right way. I think it does the reimagining reboot stuff pretty well. And he's fun. I love him in these slightly Mr. Bean clumsy roles that I think that's where he's really, really good as well.
Yeah. I Get Smart is a movie that has just disappeared from people's consciousness, and it's completely. Really fun. It's really fun. If you haven't seen it and it's floating around, I don't know where it's necessarily available. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere, but it'd be a fun watch. I feel like sometimes people are like, oh man, we should watch a movie or something. I don't know. I just want to, kick back and have a good time, and don't know what to watch. Here's one to put on the list. Just, throw Get Smart on and laugh a little bit. It's really funny. Andrew, what's your number 4?
One of my favorite rom-coms of all time, Crazy Stupid Love.
Yeah, it was in my honorable mentions.
Yeah. Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone are like perfect. This is the first time they got together before they did La La Land. And this movie is so good, except for one thing I really don't like about this movie. I think this movie is almost perfect, and there's, like I said, only one thing holding it back. I think that the character dynamics are great. The chemistry between Ryan Gosling and Steve Carell is hilarious. It hits every level of what it is like to be in love. There's a young kid's, like infatuation with, the girl at school. There's the Ryan Gosling character who is, the player. He's just the beautiful guy who it's all about sex. And then you have Steve Carell, who is kind of doing 2 different roles in this movie. He's doing the seasoned, husband, but then he's also the jilted lover. He's someone who is cheated on, so he's going through the turmoil and the pain of love. So seeing all these people represent, what it is to be in love or what love means to them, I think this is a fascinating and super funny movie.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with a lot of that. All right. On to our number threes.
Yes.
This is where I have The Way, Way Back. Another one of my favorite Steve Carell performances in a really, really interesting movie. This, of course, is kind of a coming of age tale for this kid, and how it revolves around him working at a water park one summer when they're vacationing in their summer beach home or whatever. And it's just kind of one of those interesting story tales that just owns you, and you just kind of really root for this kid and kind of what's going on. And yeah, definitely one I would recommend. A lot of fun.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Let's see, Ian, what's your number three?
Number 3 and 3 and 2 are kind of at the same spot. But Bruce Almighty.
I'm going to trump Bruce Almighty. So
yay, nice,
so
nice, good.
We'll move on to Andrew's number 3.
One of the funniest movies ever made, Anchorman: The Legend of Ron Burgundy.
Trumpet.
Yeah.
Well, look at that. Now the trumping begins.
Uh-huh.
So I guess that takes us to our number 2s.
It does.
My number 2 is The Big Short.
Same.
So yeah, The Big Short is probably.
Oh no, The Big Short.
Yeah, The Big Short.
Did you forget this movie exists?
Ian?
Yeah, no. Okay, take Despicable Me off my list. This is my number 5. So you trumped me earlier.
Yes, I did. I trumped you earlier.
I love this movie. It's so good.
It is so very, very good, and probably Adam McKay's masterpiece so far.
Yeah.
I just I think
it made me want to sell my house and just live in a hole. Like I don't want anything to do.
It made me want
mortgages or banks.
It made me want to stock an entire room with water. Is what it made me want
The
to
very
do.
end of that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
He's investing in only one thing now: water.
Water.
I'm like, oh god. Yeah.
Man.
So it is very rare to me that a movie can be both this entertaining and this important. Like this is an important movie. It's important for a couple of reasons. It's important because it's educational. It genuinely, and I didn't need Margot Robbie in a bubble bath to explain it necessarily to me, but I also didn't complain. I didn't complain. But it's a movie that isn't shy about the fact that
doing education wrong.
it isn't shy about the fact that it's having to educate on some things that that this is. It is complex, but it's not something that's impenetrable. You can understand this. You can start to understand the concepts. You can start to understand what the problem is. And this movie does such a great job of educating that for me, this is what really kind of locked me into, oh, this is why the housing crash happened. This is what happened, during that situation. So it's important for that reason. It's also important because we can repeat this kind of stuff. It's just like our greed will have us repeating these kind of things. So yeah.
I hate the text at the end of the movie that explains the new version of the funds that are being and when they started and what they're doing. I was like, Matt, I hate that so much.
That we don't learn our lessons.
We don't learn our lessons, or we're just easily tricked or want to be tricked.
No, it's not that we didn't learn our lesson. It's that there were no consequences. So why not do it again?
And I think that's the most damning thing is that it may not be about lesson learning. It is just that this will be abused. It is inherently flawed. I learned more about mortgages and banking through this movie than I did in the previous 30 years of life.
And it's not
watching it.
It's not. This is my number 2 as well. I don't know if I said that. It's not the
you
fact that this is informative with those, those cutaways, like the Anthony Bourdain or the Margot Robbie or stuff like that. They break it down in the actual, real conversations, like the scene with Ryan Gosling giving his pitch to Steve Carell and his crew, and he has the Jenga board, and he's like triple A bonds, A bonds, all the way down to triple B's and C's, and then he breaks it down like this is America's housing market. Once you get all these tranches of all these conglomerated, once they just say, we're just going to take all these B's and C's, it put them together, and then it's a whole new thing. So you can triple A rate that. It's fine. It's new.
Yeah.
And crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
And
it's
yeah,
weird
there's
because
a satisfaction. There's a satisfaction with them getting like some payback on these banks by getting these shorts on all of these bonds. But at the same time, it's like it wasn't enough. It
Mhm.
wasn't
Well,
enough punishment.
and Steve Carell's character really wrestles with that. It's like, yeah, I can make a profit, but this is adding to the tumble. Like people will suffer if we cash out now.
Mhm. Yeah. And it's just weird now that the market is the way it is right now, where you're just like, wait, what's happening? Why is this happening? Is this inflation? Is it something
Mm.
else? And it's just like economics is so complex and so, difficult, but there are ideas that you can start to understand and start to figure out, and this movie does such a good job of kind of bringing those to the forefront. So yeah, I really, really dig The Big Short. All right, I think that means your number 2, Ian, since Andrew and I's was The Big Short.
Yeah, so my number 2 is Anchorman. I agree, one of the funniest movies from growing up. So quotable. It's a shame they never made a sequel. I think
Yeah.
there's so much more that they could explore and do with this premise. Even a podcast, but they've just never done it.
You know what, Ian? There is a sequel to this movie, and I don't know if you know about it. It's Anchorman 1.2.
I don't think I do, actually.
I am being 100% serious with this, okay?
Mhm.
Did you know that they filmed so much extra footage for the first movie that they went back into an editing bay and they made a second movie?
No, I've never seen this.
I am 100% genuine. It's on YouTube.
I may have to watch it.
Yeah, give me 2 seconds. Like, talk
like
more about how.
This is like the Jackass thing, right? Like when they do like Jackass 3.5 or whatever.
But that tends to have more like kind of behind the scenes documentary style footage of this is how we did this and what we cut.
Those movies are all behind the scenes documentaries.
No, but
like this.
The 0.5s are always literally director sat in a chair saying, "This is why we couldn't do this. This is the permissions we had to get
I see.
to do this stuff." Like it really goes in deep to it. And
I see. I've actually never watched any of the 0.5s, so maybe
I actually like them better than the main movies themselves.
Interesting.
They're really, really good.
Now I have to add a bunch of Jackass movies to my content.
They are.
Oh darn!
It's all new stuff, and then it's all explaining how they.
Did you say new stuff?
The other stuff.
Yeah, news. Okay.
There's new footage in all of the 0.5s.
New footage or nude footage? I'm just trying.
Both. I mean, it's a Jackass film, so both. Absolutely both.
It's called Wake Up Ron Burgundy, the Lost Movie.
Wow. Yeah, I'll have to watch that. I just like this movie. It's fun. It's so much fun. It's so quotable.
Definitely in my honorable mentions. So that was your number 2. So time for our number 1s. If you've been paying attention, you know what my number 1 is. It is Bruce Almighty. I have a real soft spot in my heart for this movie. I like the things
Love
Jim Carrey's a genius, guys. I've said it before, I'll say it again. He's just, yes, he can twist his face and do a whole bunch of stuff, but it's more than that. He understands how to use the tools he has, and he understands why it's funny, when it's funny, and he has a level of empathy to his work that starts to appear in movies like Bruce Almighty, that is really, really important to the progression of his career. And man, this movie is hilarious, and then it will knock you over with the scene in the rain in the street.
Oh my goodness.
And it's just a really, really beautiful movie. And you can take the things it has to say about religion or God as text or subtext or literal or not. It's just it's about something. So I appreciate
I love it. I love it so much. It's this. It tackles the whole act of like why a lot of people pray, and perhaps the misunderstanding of what it is, and just demanding things from the deity of choice, and just tackling that. And I love that. So it's like, and I can imagine God doing that. Just like, you know what? Screw it. You think it's that easy? Here you go, buddy. I'm going on vacation. And then there's just so many. It's delivering a really heartfelt message through comedy. and then just having some like great skits as well, like the whole Evan Baxter thing where he's doing the auto cue for him. Killed me.
It's so good.
It slayed me so much. It's so good.
And my tiny nipples went to France.
I like her. Do the cha-cha.
So good. So yeah, that's my number 1 is Bruce Almighty. Came in at your number 3, Ian, is that right?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, number 3. Ian, what is your number 1?
I feel like I'm wrong. I feel like I made a mistake here because nobody's put it on the list. But Little Miss Sunshine
has that my number 1.
That's fine. Yeah,
my number 1.
Oh, it is your number 1. Good.
Yeah.
This movie, man, it is a pure ray of sunshine. It is a joy. It will take you through the ringer. It will just
the most impressive thing is it has 2 members of the voice cast of Minions: The Rise of Gru. So that's really
it's a beautiful movie that it just challenges what it is to be like an adult, to be a child, to where you're being led through life, what you think is important and what is actually important. Just a joy of a movie. Absolutely love it.
Andrew.
100%. Yeah. There is a reason it's in my top 100 movies of all time. It's just the family dynamic is great. Every single person is absolutely perfect, all the way from Abigail Breslin being the most adorable little girl wanting to be in a beauty pageant. And by the way, I need to say this right now. I'm going to say it anyway, even though I shouldn't. Pageant parents are like the people I dislike most in this world.
I get it.
I try not to be judgmental, but when it comes to pageant parents, I have trouble.
Yeah. So the fact that this movie deals with, that horrible side of like where it can go, with the way parents treat their kids. But there's something in the way wholesome, the way Abigail Breslin does it. She's doing it with her grandpa. She has a fun little, super freak dance number that she has all planned out that we don't see until the very end. And it's such an amazing payoff. But Alan Arkin as grandpa is great. Steve Carell as sad brother. Toni Collette is, I think, the greatest actress working today. Like, it's not even close, honestly.
Yeah, she's incredible.
And then Paul Dano being a Nietzsche-loving, vow of silence guy trying to get his pilot's license, only to find out that he's colorblind. And that scene where he breaks down on the side of the road kills me every single time. And then there's a fun Bryan Cranston cameo. Don't forget about him. He's the one that Greg Kinnear's been trying to call this whole time, and he runs into him at the hotel. Oh man, this movie's perfect.
I think one of the reasons that the pageant stuff doesn't feel quite as icky as usual is that she's leading the way, and she is like just pure joying through her experience, and she's the one that's pushing it. Like she wants to be there, and she wants to do this. This could be football or whatever other sports there are, but it's just something that she really wants to do. Man, just don't, Ian. Why did I even attempt to pull a sports reference out? No, it's less gross.
And yet,
yes.
Like when I don't know, like I try to think of like participation things that I side eye, like pageants, I side eye a little bit. Contact sports, I side eye a little bit, like for health reasons or whatever. And there is something where yes, she's leading the way, but still it is pageants, and there's something really icky about those. But that is not my problem with this movie. I actually don't have a lot of problems with this movie. I like this movie too. It is in my honorable mentions. Just a simple fact remains: Horton Hears a Who is better.
Not as good as Horton Hears a Who. I feel so much better about my list. I really do. You've made me feel good, Aaron.
It's because Abigail's Olive is her name, but the way Olive she looks at it, she doesn't look at it as like I'm competing against these other. She's like, oh, tiaras are pretty. I get to dance. This is going to be fun. That's what she's going into this like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. No, I enjoy the movie quite a bit. In fact, if there's on the list of actors who I think didn't quite have the career they deserve, Greg Kinnear is pretty high on that list. He's a really funny dude, and he's not to say he hasn't had a good career. He's had a good career, but it just seems like he should be a superstar in some ways. So
100%. Yeah.
So yeah, I think everybody in this movie is doing pretty amazing stuff. All right. Any other honorable mentions you want to mention honorably?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Ian?
Nope.
Nope. I'll throw out a couple. Date Night is funnier than a lot of people give credit for. If you want to check that out. Alexander and the No Good Really Bad Day. Funny movie. Funny movie. I know it's a family film, but you might enjoy that. The Incredible
Sounds
Burt
like it.
Incredible Burt Wonderstone, speaking of Jim Carrey, is one you might want to check out.
No, it's
I
not.
was
Don't do
expecting
it.
to get.
Don't do it.
I was expecting to get slammed for not having seen the 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Oh
but
yeah,
it was
that
not on
one,
anyone's list.
I don't like that movie.
It was.
So.
I think it's an incredibly funny movie.
It's funny. Oh, it's got funny places. I've just never enjoyed that movie.
Fair enough.
For some reasons. And then Battle of the Sexes kind of came and went.
That's a good movie
with Emma Stone, but it's a decent film, so I thought I'd throw that one out there.
I love the fact that the way they filmed it, it looks just like the footage. You know, it's shot from that above, far away, eagle eye view of the actual tennis match at the very end.
Yeah,
they could have done it, you know, where it's like the intense shaky cam up front, you know, where you see, you know, the sweat on the brow and everything. No, it's like you're watching a tennis match.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. So there you go. Best ever Steve Carell movies in the books, and now it's on to our buried treasure. What is that one thing in any area of pop culture you want to make sure people know about? Ian, you're our guest, so you go last. Andrew, kick us off.
I'm going to go with a new show on Amazon Prime, The Terminal List.
Okay.
Starring Chris Pratt and Taylor Kish, I think it is. Kish, yeah. Anyway, this is written by a man by the name of Jack Carr, who is a former Navy SEAL. The basic premise of this is Chris Pratt is playing a Navy SEAL whose group just got back from a very bad op. He was one of the only survivors. Everybody else was killed. He had his head hit. He had a bad concussion on the op, and now he keeps blacking out. But now that he's back home, all the Navy SEALs from his crew that did survive are dying, and he has to figure out like what's going on. But he keeps forgetting stuff. It's really kind of a crime, you know, like what's going on. It's less actiony than you might think, but it's interesting. It's a really good show. I think Chris Pratt's doing a great job with it, and you should check it out. It's only 8 episodes long.
That is The Terminal List on Prime.
Yeah.
I am going to go with Stranger Things season 4 for my buried treasure.
I haven't seen the last 2 episodes.
This is good.
No, I hate that you're saying this because now I'm gonna have to go and watch it.
I know. I felt the
which
same
means watching
way.
season 2 and 3 as well.
Wait, Ethan or Ian, whatever your name is, you don't deserve a name until you've seen all Stranger Things.
I know. I've only seen season 1, and I was hoping this was going to be bad enough that I didn't have to watch 2 and 3.
Yeah, because 2 and 3 are fine. 2 and 3 are great. You know, Stranger Things seasons. You'll have some fun with them, but they are progressively less necessary, in my opinion. You know, they're a little more fluffy. Stranger Things is back in season 4. It's just back.
Man.
Like it's the best season.
It's the best. It is competing with season 1 in my mind for the best. And I think the reason it may land on top is because we've seen these characters develop through some things. And honestly, the main issues I had with the second 2 seasons had to do with the clumsiness of the way they handled the aging of the stars. Like they didn't quite work complete. Everything works here. The age of everybody works here. Everybody's still doing great work here. The roles they're putting them in make sense to me. I'm really enjoying all the characters. when I heard these episodes were going to be movie length, I was like, please come on. And I didn't want to watch it. And then my wife was like, we, watch Stranger Things together. Let's watch, the new season or whatever. I'm like, okay, we'll put it on the first. And we were just locked in, locked in. Also, incredible plot to season 4. Just a really incredible job of storytelling. So, yeah.
Also, this is the most terrifying season. There's some body horror work that is out of this world, like bone chillingness. I haven't, like I said, I haven't seen episodes 8 and 9 yet, but I can confidently say I think that even 1 through 7, because it wasn't really, I don't know why it wasn't released all at once,
I do. I know why. I can tell you why.
Okay.
I say I know why. This is just a huge assumption on my part that I'm pretending is knowledge.
Okay.
Netflix is regretting their binge strategy. They're seeing how Disney Plus is owning the conversation every week, and they're like, oh, let's save a couple so people can be talking about it for a while, and then we'll throw those on. So they're kind of hedging their binge bets. Dang
it, I was going to cancel my subscription, and now I have to watch this.
You really do. It's
fine.
Yeah. It's so good. I'm going to watch it today because when did it came out? What was today? The second it came out yesterday?
Yesterday. Okay. Yeah. The final 2 episodes came out yesterday. Both feature-length films, as far as length goes. So yeah. So there you go. Stranger Things season 4 is chef's kiss, and I'm sorry to have to tell you that, Ian, but it's
I'm
really,
not.
really
I'm
good.
excited. I'm happy for you, Ian, that you get to experience everything.
How am I going to reclaim the 30 hours that you've just cost me? How do I expense that? And how do I expense the 3 hours I lost to the movies?
I have no idea. We'll start a new Patreon tier just for you, Ian.
Nice.
So yeah, there you go. Stranger Things season 4 is available in its entirety now on Netflix. Ian, what is your buried treasure?
I'm the only one who actually listened to the damn rules on this thing and actually picked a buried treasure and not like the most pop culture-y stuff that's going right now. I picked a really random movie from, what year is this? 2018, Bad Samaritan. I went on a bit of a David Tennant. Have neither of you heard of this film?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, you have. Oh, okay. Okay. I really liked this movie.
David Tennant makes everythame better.
Yes,
how is this a surprise?
I went on a David Tennant binge. I watched The Escape Artist, which is a courtroom thing.
Fright Night? Did you watch Fright Night?
Fright Night is next on the list. I'm not doing chronologically or anything.
Okay,
I'm just
all right.
picking what I'm in the mood for. Went into Broadchurch, and then Amazon Prime recommended Bad Samaritan, and I was like, fine. This movie I like it. I really, really like it. Like, David Tennant is pulling off an unhinged accent and an unhinged performance to match it as well. Your man, Robert Sheehan, is great in essentially every single thing he does. And I think he's really great in this. There is a standard horror tropiness to it as well that, fine, it's fairly predictable, but it does do a couple of unique things, and it does have, like, him being with him for the entire movie is great. The way that he is broken down systematically by Tennant is by Tennant's character is incredible. It's so good. It does disappear a little bit at the back end for me because they didn't really know how to apprehend the bad guy, so they do the trope of making him suddenly dumb, which is a bit disappointing. But overall, this movie, I was expecting nothing at all from this movie. I challenge you to not watch it and just have a pretty decent time and at least enjoy the people in it. What a pleasant surprise.
53% on Rotten Tomatoes, not terrible.
About right.
Feels about right, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
What did you guys like review it, watch it? What did you? I really need to hear what other people think of this movie.
Yeah, it's been what year did you say it was? Like 2000?
It's been a while. 2018.
2018,
2018.
but
So
it feels 2013. It feels a lot older, strangely.
sure. So yeah, I watched this in a end of year screener binge.
Oh wow, okay.
So yeah, it was just one in a list, and I just remember thinking, oh, that was David Tennant, and it's always fun to watch David Tennant. So I don't have a lot of specific memories of the movie, which maybe says something. But it's interesting to hear that you enjoyed it as well. So
man, love it. I'm a sucker for Tennant. I really am.
I'm excited for you to get to Grace Point, the remake of Broadchurch that
It's
stars the same
interesting.
actor as a completely different character with a completely different accent.
So strange. I hit play on it last night on episode 1 of Grace Point.
Yeah.
And then for some reason I thought, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready. I'm less than a week away from finishing Broadchurch. I'm not ready to revisit this story, and however differently it may be framed. I need.
Have you seen Jessica Jones yet?
Oh, completely. He's incredible in Jessica Jones.
Maybe his best performance.
No, Doctor Who.
I don't know. I like him as a bad guy.
He's so good in Jessica Jones.
He's so good in Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
I'm so in comic books can do anything, so I'm still crossing my fingers that he comes into the MCU somehow. But like the loss of that villain,
it switched me off so much. I am not interested in a season 2 if he's not in it, and that's terrible because Kristen Ritter is great.
Yeah,
but you cannot top that. You cannot top his bad guy.
He's so good. So good. Well, there you go. That is Bad Samaritan, available on Prime, you say?
In England, at least. Yeah, who knows?
Oh, that's a good point. I probably should look up
Stars or something in Stars.
We have
Prime. I can tell you in 2 seconds where it is. Here
Stranger Things season 4 is on Netflix, and The Terminal List is on Amazon Prime.
And if I get shoved in my face anymore, I'm going to unsubscribe from Prime as well. I cannot navigate to anything Old Man Yells at Cloud because there is this huge The Terminal banner. The next row down is The Terminal. The row after that is, hey, you should continue watching The Terminal even though you haven't started watching it. But I get it. You want me to watch this thing. I will not.
The Prime interface is the worst.
It's the worst. Hire me to fix it.
Beyond atrocious.
All you have to do is give me 1 month of Prime for free, and I will fix that interface for you for my own sanity. I hate it.
It's so bad. It's so very, very bad. Did you find out Bad Samaritan is on Prime?
It's not showing up anywhere for the US to watch.
Yeah. So in England, enjoy.
People in England enjoy.
I will pay for it.
Nowhere? It's not available anywhere?
If you go on Apple and you look up on Apple's TV, it gives you a list well, you could watch it on Hulu or anything like that.
It is available on Canopy for free in HD.
You're just making that up.
Nope, that is a real thing. It is also available on Plex for free in HD. Plex, the movie server software, has started getting into streaming.
That's smart.
Stuff, so yeah, so Canopy or Plex looks like they have it for.
And your login details for Plex are, Aaron?
Wasn't the whole reason of the streaming service system so that we wouldn't have to have 15 different services all at once?
I remember that being the pipe dream once upon a time, but we are back into cable company territory.
I will tell you that is Plex's strategy. Their strategy is and Apple's doing this as well. In fact, Google has an element of this too. They're trying to be the interface that can get you everywhere. It's difficult, right?
Well, if you Prime to a certain degree.
Yeah, that's true. Everybody knows that's the Holy Grail. It's just getting there is so difficult. So yeah.
If I could pay somebody $30 to give me all of the streaming things, they would have my money. But
so that is Bad Samaritan on Canopy. Stranger Things season 4 on Netflix, and The Terminal List is on Prime. We did it, guys. We did a podcast. Woo-hoo! Congratulations.
Yeah,
we managed to make it through both movies this week. Thank you so much for joining us today. Sif Pop is part of the Studio DNA podcast network. Find out more about other shows on the network at studiodna.media or by searching Studio DNA in your podcast player. Huge thanks to Andrew for hanging out with us again today.
Thank you, buddy.
Big thanks to Phil for producing the audio and video show.
Thanks, Phil.
Big thank you to our Sif Pop members for giving monthly to make Sif Pop a real thing. Sports
But not Ian.
month, and you get to have access to bonus episodes as well as some other fun perks, including a possible monthly video hangout. And thanks to our guest this week, Ian Whittington.
You did it out of order, Aaron. You threw me off.
Sorry about that, buddy.
Please
Ian, where can people find you? What do you want to tell them about?
You can find me not at the theatre watching any movies again because I've lost
You
faith.
will never find him on Sif Pop ever again.
No, never again. You can find me on Twitter. That's where I'm most active. It's at Whitsind, WHITTSINNED, or talking about Star Trek at Captain's Pod, a Star Trek companion podcast, which we just had a little sneaky bonus episode where we talked about the undiscovered country with Cinema Sins narrator Jeremy Scott, and that was a huge amount of fun. He has issues with kitchens.
It is true. It is true. I would also mention I'm on the season of Captain's Pod for Strange New Worlds, so talking about Strange New Worlds, and that's been a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to talking about the finale that will be happening.
Yeah, that'll be next week.
Very, very soon. This week, as you're listening to this, probably.
Yes.
Yeah. So whenever it is, it'll be exciting to talk about. So thank you, Ian, for hanging out with us today. If you want to connect with the podcast, you can do that by leaving a rating or review at Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. You can also leave a comment. You can also email us, feedback@sifpop.com. And finally, if you're having a good time, your movie-loving friends will probably like the show too. So let them know about it. And listening is much easier than hitting a home run on a 2-strike no-ball count. We will be back next week with Thor 4 and more. So we will see you then.
Couldn't invite me on for that one.
Hey, Ian, want to come talk about Thor 4 and more?
Only if it's instead of this episode.
All right. Well, there you go. Thanks for those who hung out during the video chat. Saw Lolly hanging in there. Doc was hanging out. So
hey, Lolly. Hey, Doc.
So yeah, appreciate that. Lolly says, watch What We Did on Our Holidays. David Tennant, Rosamund Pike, Billy Connolly. It's fab.
I believe you.
I will believe you.
All right, we're gonna record a Sif spoil, so we're gonna let you go. Love you guys, and we'll catch you next time we're live. Bye.